Well, welcome to the Ewi Den. My name is Curt Sipe, and today we're going to talk about Ewi Fingerings and a new program of mine called A Pattern a Day. So, how can I know which Ewi Fingerings to use and when? My students ask this all the time, and it is a big question, and there are several answers. So first of all, a bit of context. I use three categories of Ewi fingerings. One is the home fingerings. Most people come to the Ewi from saxophone, flute, clarinet, or oboe, and that's home for them. And I come from the saxophone. Not all, but most home instrument fingerings will work in the E1 or the Ewi standard fingering setting. So the second group I call transposables, and that's when I use like the 6 circular buttons to play all my scales or chords and then use my little fingers to transpose those to other keys. Third is like a subset of the transposables, which is a group of very comfortable fingerings for major and ascending melodic minor, and I transpose those to other keys, and it's a very comfortable way to play. So which fingerings you choose also depends on the musical context. So if for sight reading, it's best to keep the fingerings consistent. We can read with greater speed when we're not distracted by a lot of alternative fingering choices. So I used a lot of saxophone fingerings in this situation. However, I have noticed as a result of my pattern studies that several of my saxophone fingerings are slowly disappearing from my Ewi playing. When we have time to prepare a written piece of music, it only makes sense that we're going to choose the most comfortable and graceful fingerings because we have time to prepare it. If we're sight reading changes, you're on a gig and you're sight improvisation, the choices are going to depend on the tempo and the complexity of the changes. So if it looks tough, use transposable and home fingerings. If the harmony is understandable at a glance, well, then you have an opportunity to use the pentatonic groups. So improvising over a familiar tune, I'm going to use the most comfortable fingerings every single time. So a pattern a day, what is it? Well, it's a video series designed to train your mind, ear, and fingers to incorporate comfortable and flexible fingerings into your Ewi playing. It'll add 3 to 10 minutes to your present practice routine. The prerequisite, you need to know all 12 major scales, and also the Akai Ewi is set up for standard Ewi fingerings, or the E1 setting. So each episode introduces a pattern and explains its construction, demonstrates a way to practice it, incorporating different Ewi fingerings, and covers how to apply the pattern in a musical context. Patterns are a fantastic way to practice. You can get a micro look at how scale degrees function and how to manipulate chords and scales. It's a great way to gain more repetitions around the key cycles. Hearing in every key with different root movements, it's like studying music theory on a micro level. Patterns are an easy way to predict the musical future in our improvisation. So if we do like 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, you can hear where that's going to go next. So you can train your mind to hear the next thing, projecting and predicting the future. And we can use this as ear training. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 5 and move a fourth, 1, 2, 3, 5, fourth, 1, 2, 3, 5, and maybe we could sing that on notes. Like C, D, E, G, F, G, A, C. We can keep track of the notes and where we are inside of a key center. So over time, if you do this a lot, you can keep track of a lot of notes inside of a key center. And this is relevant ear training. It's in context and in time, and it's a great way to train yourself to hear what's coming up next. And along the way, we get a chance to experience our Ewi fingerings in every possible context. Why patterns? Well, there's patterns everywhere in our daily lives. You just walk outside and look around. You see the leaves. They're a pattern. Bunch of trees make a forest. You wake up in the morning, you go to bed at night. Mostly about the same time. There's the cycles of the moons. Patterns are wired deep into our neurology, and they let us keep track of things and predict future events. And to some degree, they help us make sense of and understand the beautiful world in which we're living in. So It's also an effective and quick way to study and learn profound things about music. So a pattern a day is a daily video series that includes a video lesson, some transposable fingering charts, root movement grids, and downloadable play-along records, and a practical plan for training your mind and your body to intuitively respond to the question, when do I use what fingerings?